You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during questioning. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. You understand your rights? Warning. Each episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, will contain descriptions of acts of violence or of a sexual nature and are for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off the internet or from some television show. These facts I'm retelling were presented to me by the victims of the crime or the perpetrators who committed the crimes. My descriptions of the crime scenes are what I saw with my own two eyes. If you are going to get offended, turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Warning. Each episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast will contain descriptions of acts of violence or of a sexual nature and are for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off the internet or from some television show. These facts I'm retelling were presented to me by the victims of the crime or the perpetrators who committed the crimes. My descriptions of the crime scenes are what I saw with my own two eyes. If you are going to get offended, turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And today we're going to be beginning a new chapter in the history of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And we're going to be starting a investigative series. And the title of it is going to be Who Murdered Courtney Coco? Okay, so I want to tell y'all a little bit of background on this case, and then going to have a long recording and interview with Courtney Coco's mother, where Jim Rathman and I talked to her at length. But let me just kind of skip around here, get my thoughts out to you so you know where we're going and what we're trying to do. About maybe 2.5 years ago, Miss Stephanie, who is Courtney Coco's mom, contacted me about her daughter's cold case homicide, and it had been cold approximately 12 years at that time. And I told her I would take a look at it, and that I needed the case materials, etc., and that I would be going to Alexandria, Louisiana, to meet with her. And y'all, Alexandria, if you don't know it, it's dead center in the middle of the state of Louisiana. If you just threw a dart and hit the middle of the state, that's exactly where it is. But before I could do that, Miss Stephanie changed her mind. And that was after she met with law enforcement officers and told them that she was bringing me in on the case. Now, nothing had been done, or she hadn't heard from them in years. And then she goes in and tells the detective that's handling the case that she's bringing me in to review it. And they just pretty much flipped out, told her, no, you can't do that, etc. We're going to do this. We got a cold case squad now. We're on it, and you don't want to bring in an outsider and all that. Well, it is what it is. I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. I think, number one, they don't want somebody to come in and crack a case that they hadn't been able to solve, right? Regardless, whatever it is, she backed off of it. Stephanie gave in to him and backed off of it. And about a month ago, she contacted me again. Miss Stephanie did. And she said, I need your help. Will you please come help me with Courtney's case? And so I called her. She had sent me a message, and I called her, and we talked in depth for a long time. We've talked several times since then, and I agreed to come and work the case if she would let me do it through the podcast as an investigative series. And the main reason I got her to agree to that is because this case is 15 years old now, and I do not think it can be solved. I know it can't be solved without the help of the public. And you lifers out there, I know y'all love true crime, and this is it. But Jim Raffman and I are going to work this case, but we can't do it alone. We're no longer law enforcement officers. I'm going to be working this as an investigative journalist. So, 15 years, hell, that's a long time. And this case is not just cold. It's frozen, literally. It's not just old and cold. It's frozen at a dead standstill. Pardon the pun. But before I give you some background information, I'm going to talk to y'all about that. What I'm going to do, or what we're going to do on this case, is I'm going to do episodes real time as they unfold. I'm going to record all interviews with everyone that I come in contact with. I'm going to record our bullshit sessions, if you will, where we sit around and kick ideas back and forth. And that's where a lot of great homicides get solved. It's just by sitting around kicking back and forth ideas. And sometimes somebody will come up with something off the wall, which actually helps to solve or break the case. So the idea of us doing it as investigative journalists, trying to push it along, it's still, we have to have the public's help. Now, we're going to be establishing a reward fund, and it's going to be significant. And we're going to establish a hotline where people can call in tips and they can be anonymous. And we're going to have a closed Facebook page where I'm going to upload all the documents of the case. Now, on the closed Facebook page, I have to lock it up for patrons on the $10 and above tier, because I'm not getting paid for this, y'all. In these cases, it could take years. It's certainly going to take a hell of a lot of time and travel expenses and stuff like that. So, and I have a family to support, and I have to work my regular mini jobs that I do, right? Consulting, going around the country and polygraphs and all the many different hats that I wear, and now Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. So all the material that we're going to put up, the extra interviews, the stuff that doesn't make a regular episode to keep you updated, is going to be locked up, unedited for the $10 tier and above patron members. So it's all going to be there. That's going to be a different angle, but it's a necessary evil. We've got to have some type of financial support to run this. And I know how long these things are going to take, but this case, y'all, it's a real humdinger. And I'm going to go into it in a minute and tell you a little bit about Courtney Coco and the basis of what happened. And then Jim Raffman and I, we were in Orlando last week, and we recorded over an hour with Courtney's mom, Stephanie, on the phone, just basically to introduce Jim to her and get some basic case facts, if you will. And it turned out to be such a powerful interview. I'm going to release it today. And when I get done talking to y'all, I'm going to release it today, and it's going to be unedited. All this stuff is going to be unedited. So if you hear some lip smacking or breathing or stuttering on words, guess what? It's just how it is, because I want you to get it like I get it. So it's a tough deal. Do I think it's a solvable case? 1,000%. Can I guarantee it? No, I can't. But I can guarantee that we're going to work it as if it was our own family member. In every homicide that we worked, especially ones that were dragged out, we treated the victim's family like they were our own family. And to this day, there's so many of them that I'm still friends with, right? So it's going to need y'all's help and your patience and your understanding. It's going to be a fluid situation, as any homicide investigation is. When you think you are going down the right track, something else is going to happen and turn in another direction. Remember, on homicide investigations, everybody is a suspect except for me, Jim Rathman, and the mom, and of course you lifers, right? So everybody has to be excluded. And there's a lot of players in this one, y'all. I mean, this case has got some real twist in it. And now, when we say anything about the police work or whatever, or any possible suspects, etc., we're certainly not accusing anyone. But if something sounds reasonable, like you were the last person with her, or this didn't get done, or that didn't get done in investigation, we're not bashing on anyone yet. But we certainly will follow those leads. And if they can be excluded, we'll exclude them. If they can't, then we're going to stay on them. So anyway, I guess I could talk about this all day, but just want to let y'all know a little bit about our victim. Okay. And I'm going to read from a letter, and y'all know I don't do that, but Miss Stephanie sent me this, and I'm only going to read you part of it because I don't want to go into a lot of the details that are in it. That will be put up on that for the Patreon members on the closed page. But it says, this is Miss Stephanie writing me. It said, Courtney was 19 years old in 2004, the youngest of 3 girls. She went to Alexandria Senior High School and graduated in 2003 and was a very good student. She was on the cheerleading team and played softball and was a long-time gymnast. She went to 1 semester at Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Louisiana, and was studying criminology and wanting to specialize in crime scene investigations. Sadly, her dream of college never would be. She would never be married. She would never know the joy of being a mother, and that's with an exclamation mark. Courtney had her own car, job, and was renting a cute little house. I saw Courtney last on October 1st, 2004. It was a Friday. In my driveway. We were packing to go to the camp at Sabine Bayou Landing. Courtney was going to feed my 2 little dogs while we were gone. On October 2nd, Saturday night, Courtney had a domino game at her house. There were about 4 to 5 people there. Based on information given to police, this was the last night she would be seen alive. And I'm not going to say any more about it because it gets too specific details, and you're going to hear a lot of these details today on the phone call with Miss Stephanie. Just tragic, man. Let me make sure there's nothing else I want to add on here. No, I'll put that. I'm going to scan those. I'm going to scan that letter and put it on the closed page. And again, y'all, if the sound quality is not the best, you hear papers rustling or whatever going on, that's how this live investigation is going to go. There's no way in hell we have the time to edit every single thing on this. Just don't. We don't have a production team. We don't have writers and stuff like all these big shows do. You know, my wife probably spends 25 to 35 hours a week editing each episode after working all day as a teacher. So just bear with us and help us. Okay. And I'm really, no idea is a wrong idea or a bad idea. The only stupid idea is the one that you don't come forth with. So we're going to be setting up an email where you can email in ideas or questions. We're going to set up that hotline, and that's going to be available to everybody, to all the public. Okay. Now you have to understand, when we do this, and when we did it when we were law enforcement officers, we would get 1,000 calls. Okay. But every one of them has to be investigated, or every idea that y'all present, I have to read through it and at least, decide to include it or exclude it or whatever. So it's going to be a lot of work and a lot of time, but y'all, man, Miss Stephanie, when I agreed to take this case, I asked her to please send me her favorite pictures of Courtney. And I do that because I'm going to keep one in my vehicle with me and one on my bedside table. Now, although I won't be home very much, it doesn't look like, but that way, little Courtney will always be with me. And it just makes it personal, personal for me. And we're going to do everything we can to solve this case. Now, reward money. I'm not going to announce the beginning amount yet because I'm going to get some more donations for it, but it's going to be significant. And to collect the reward, you have to provide information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the person or the people who committed this murder. So there's lots of twists and turns, y'all, on this, and I can't do it all in one episode. Today's episode is simply going to be to introduce you to the mother and her pain, and listen to her voice, listen to the pain, and imagine if it was your child and you've been 15 years brutally murdered and you're suffering and you can't get justice. So who murdered Courtney Coco? And we're going to be in new uncharted waters, like I said, doing it as journalists and not law enforcement. So anyway, we're going to be posting the patron information. If you're already a patron member on the $10 above tier, and I think that's vandalism, but if you already are one, then you'll get the information and log into the private page where all the documents will be uploaded automatically. Weekly, I'll be uploading all the interviews and things, like I said, in the kick around bullshit sessions that we do. You'll have access to everything. Everyone else, you're going to get the pertinent case facts as they unfold real time. And if you can't be a patron, I totally get it. You have access to the hotline and the email, and send us your ideas, and there's no wrong idea. So without further ado, let me play today's episode. And I appreciate and love every one of y'all. So here we go. And this is a recorded phone call with Jim Rathman and I with Courtney Coco's mom, Stephanie. Hey everybody, it's Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, and we're going to be recording an initial interview today, just a brief interview with Miss Stephanie, which is Courtney Coco's mom, the mother of the victim in this case. I'm going to call Miss Stephanie now. And it's Jim and I are in the room together.
Good morning.
Please enjoy this Verizon ringback tone while your party is reached.
Good morning, Mr. Woody.
Good morning, sweetie. How are you?
Oh, doing good. I'm going through, I pulled out a lot of Courtney's stuff and just, it's like opening up an old wound, you know?
I know. And I was telling Jim and I were just talking about it, the 15 years going by, but I can't imagine your pain. But hey, let me tell you this first, Stephanie. Okay. I want to introduce you to Jim. Jim I met him initially when he came to work for the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. He was on the 2003 LSU National Championship football team. He worked in uniform patrol, and then he was on the SWAT team. We were on the SWAT team together, and then he made detective, and I got to actually train him in detectives, and we were partners, and we did a lot of smashing success cases. And then when I went to the state police, he went back into the military. He made rank of captain. He is a decorated war veteran. He won the Bronze Star for gallantry in combat. After that, he went to the United States Secret Service, and he was a federal agent. So he is a man of much knowledge. He's super intelligent, and there is nobody I'd rather have on this case with me. Okay, so I want to introduce you to him. So, Jim.
Good morning, Miss Stephanie.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Jim. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I know this is a very difficult time for you to open up all this. As you mentioned, it's like opening an old wound. But
yes,
I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
I want to thank y'all very much for taking the time to help me.
Absolutely.
And Courtney.
Yeah.
And I know this is incredibly difficult for you to do, but I just want to let you know how incredibly strong you are and how thankful we are for you to be fighting as hard as you are to get answers for your daughter, as you should. And we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we help in this situation to help you get closure.
And Miss Stephanie, there's never been a case, especially cold case or a murder case that Jim and I worked on. I told you this before, that the victims' families didn't become our families, especially ones that had investigation time. So you don't have to hold anything back from us, and we speak freely.
Yes.
It is what it is, but we're going to work it, and we're going to work it and treat it just like if it was our own family. Okay. Cause it is now. And
yes.
You never find two more passionate people, to do it. But I believe God put us together for a reason. And
amen to that. I do believe that.
And
timing is perfect,
That's right. And God's an on-time God. And I flew to Orlando yesterday, which is where Jim lives. And I had to come over here for a convention this week anyway, so it all worked out. But I want to do this morning is just spend some time with you, and so Jim can talk to you, and just whatever you feel led to say. But if you don't mind, can you act like I don't know anything, and as hard as it'll be for you, if you feel up to it, act like I don't know anything and run the case down again, so Jim has knowledge, okay? And he may interrupt you and ask you some questions, or he may not. But do you mind?
Okay.
Can you handle that?
No. Okay. Yes, sir. Not at all.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. So, October the 1st of 2004 was opening day of squirrel season, and me and my husband and a couple of friends were going to Saline Swamp to go to the camp. It was my mom and dad's camp.
I'm going to interrupt you. I'm a huge hunter and fisherman, but the thing I love to hunt most is squirrels to this day. But go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we were heading to the camp, and Courtney had her own little house, which was just about 3 miles down the road from me, not very far. And so she had came over around 3:30 that afternoon, and we were packing up stuff in the back of the truck, and I actually asked her if she wanted to go. And she's like, "No, Mom, I don't do the woods and the camping." She just wasn't that kind of girl. She liked to be in town where she could be around her friends, and she had her own little car, and she had her own little house, and so she didn't want to go. But I asked her out of the clear blue, and so I asked her if she would come and feed my 2 little dogs. I had like 2 little Pomeranians at the time, and she said yes. And so I gave her $10 for gas, and I told her to take my bread and milk and bring it home to her house. I love you. I said, bring it home to your house, and use it because I'm going to be gone for the weekend. So where we were out in the woods, it was before cell phones and all that. I think people still had beepers back then. I mean, there was cell phones, but they were just coming out, and you couldn't really text and all that, just answer them. And so there was a time where I tried to call her from the camp, but there was no service, and so I really didn't think anything was wrong or anything. I mean, I just thought she was here in town, and it's not unusual for a teenager. She was 19 not to answer the phone. Well, when we got home Sunday evening, it was kind of right at dark, I noticed that the bread and the milk were still here, and my little dogs had already tried to knock over my trash, and I could tell that they were hungry, and I was like, she must have not fed them today. I was just thinking today, and she forgot the bread and milk. Still wasn't really alarmed about anything, and I tried to call her then, no answer. Well, the next morning, Monday morning, I say morning, it was around 12 o'clock. My mom's sister was killed in a car wreck back in 1984, and so her birthday was October the 5th, and I always went to the cemetery and put flowers on her grave. Mm-hmm. And I was waiting on a friend of mine to come. She was going to ride to Marksville with me to go to the cemetery, and I was on my way out the door, and I was putting the flowers in the car and all that, and my phone rang, and I literally had to run back in to catch the phone. It was a landline, and when I answered the phone, it was a detective on the phone, and he said, "Is Courtney there?" And I said, "No." I said, "This is her mom." I said, "Courtney doesn't live here." I said, "But this is her mom. Is something wrong?" And he said, "Possibly." And I said, "Well, what's wrong?" I thought maybe she might have gotten a wreck or got in trouble, or I didn't know. And I said, "Well, what's wrong?" And he said, "We found a body in Texas with your daughter's ring on her finger." And I was like, "What?" I thought I was hearing things. I seriously thought I was hearing. And I said, "Wait, no." I said, it can't be her." I said, "Can you repeat that?" And he repeated it again. And I was here by myself. My friend, I don't know if something happened and she didn't show up or call. I just, at that point, I kind of went a little bit crazy. And I managed to somehow, I told the detective, I said, "I got to go." And I just hung up the phone. And I called my husband, and I called my daughter, which my daughter, Lace, worked with Courtney at Dr. Morrow's office. Courtney was the little receptionist there, mm-hmm. and he's a dentist. And so I don't know how I managed to even dial the phone number. And my husband, he was a painter. I mean, he's a painter, and he said he just dropped everything and come home. And he said when he found me, I was kind of like a caged animal, like going around in a circle. I didn't know which way to go. I didn't know what to do. And so anyway, before I knew it, the detectives, my whole family was here within 30, 40 minutes. And then the detective called again. Cedric Green was his name. Cedric with a C. And he said, my sister answered the phone then, and she was trying to get information from him about what had happened. And he said, well, maybe I just need to come on over there.
You think?
And so him, sir?
I said, you think? Yeah.
Yeah. No, he should have came over here to begin with, because Absolutely. If I would have passed out and hit my head or I would have
He was with the Alexandria Police Department, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
at the beginning, he was the head detective on her case. I never did. I mean, I didn't ever know this man, but me and him just could never. he always made me feel like I was a suspect. You know, he talked to me and looked at me and just, and I told him, I said, I understand you got to do what you got to do, but weed me out so you can get to the real killer. And, but anyway, for about 2 weeks of that whole time, I really don't remember much of anything. I'm just,
Hey, Miss Stephanie, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. When he called and he said, "Well, maybe I need to come out there," did he actually come out, or?
Yes, he did.
And tell us what happened.
Okay, well, I just remember they were all sitting at my kitchen table, and he was asking, like, when was the last time we saw her and stuff like that, you know, and who was her boyfriend, and different things like that. And I guess, I mean, I vaguely remember, I think my mind was shut down, but my sisters and my mom and my husband and everybody was here, and they remember, you know, everything that was being said. And we tried to write down some things, you know, but I forgot what I was. I do remember, like, like on October 8th is when we, you know, buried her, and we had the cathedral, which is a huge cathedral downtown Alexandria. Courtney was Catholic, and there were so many kids from her school there. I've never seen that church so packed in my life other than a Christmas fest.
Yeah, wow.
There were so many. Yeah, there were so many people that had so many good things to say about her, and it was just like the day that we buried her. It was pouring down rain, and they tried to ask me if I wanted to go into the mausoleum and, you know, do it in there, and I said no. I want to. Courtney picked out her own spot where she was buried, and the reason that happened was because her dad died when she was 8 years old. And she did everything. She picked everything out for him. She picked out his casket. She did everything. Yeah. And when it come time to sign on the dotted line, his mom and dad and sister and everybody pushed back away from the desk like they wasn't going to sign anything because they didn't want to be stuck with the bill. And so me and Courtney signed it. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, you know, because her dad had lost his leg in an accident, and he had like a little annuity set up, and Courtney had like a little check every month coming in after her dad died. So I signed. But anyway, she picked out her own spot. Wow. Where she's buried today.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but I'm just trying.
So Miss Stephanie, what?
The second day, let me just tell y'all this before I lose my train of thought.
Okay.
Okay, my brother-in-law is a federal marshal. He's retired now, but at the time he was a federal marshal, and he's also Courtney's godfather. And and he was here when the detectives got here. He was here, so he was sitting here with us. And we asked him. They said that they needed to go to Texas and identify her body. Well, I knew I wasn't going to be the one to do that, and so my brother-in-law, I asked him to do it. And he did, and they left like 5 o'clock Tuesday morning, driving to Winnie, Texas, and she had just had a butterfly tattoo put on her low back, and she had braces on her teeth. She had just got her braces re-put on her teeth. And so I just told him to look for those two things. And the next day, when Greg called us, that's my brother-in-law, he called us from Texas, and my sisters were here with me and my mom, and they took the call. But when my sister, she said it is, and I just knew then that it was her, and I literally passed out. I hit the floor. I mean, I went blacked out, and I woke up, and my cousin had my feet in the air, and my mom's friend had my head in her hands, and they were just reviving me. But it was like it's like I kept thinking to myself, it's not her. I was in denial, and I kept thinking she's just off somewhere. But then when they said that it was her, that's when my entire world as I knew it changed from that moment on. Because up until then, I still didn't think it was her.
Right.
And when they found her, it was a place in Texas that it was right off of Interstate 10. The reason I know exactly, well, I've got a cross there now, but the detective that had went and got her body from where it was, he met us at the McDonald's a few days later. Well, I say a few days later. It was about probably almost 2 weeks. And we wanted to go there. And so he met us at the McDonald's, and he took us there to where she was found. And we brought a priest with us. And the priest, blessed everything. That building where she was at had two, bay doors, an old garage type thing. And what they did, they backed into one of the bay doors, and that's where they dumped her out at. They had her in her body in her own trunk of her own car. And they left her in there for a day or so, I guess, because her body was already decomposed. And that's what the detective said. When is the last time you saw her? And I said, on Friday. She was alive and well, standing in my driveway. So I said, there's no way that it could be her, and because what threw him off was because she was so decomposed, but it's because she was in the trunk of her car and it was so hot. And the way they threw her out, whoever threw her out, this is what bothers me, I think, more than anything, is they spread her legs wide open, like to I don't know, insult her or something. They posed her.
Right.
And, oh, my God, that just kills me, because she was nude from the waist down.
Who told you about that, Stephanie? Miss Stephanie?
The detective in Winnie, Texas. His name was David Rabelais. And he told us how they found her, because and then Cedric Green here told us that, and this is what he determined. He said it was somebody that knew her, that wanted her to be found, and them posing her like that, it was kind of like a mockery, kind of, like if somebody was mad at her or something, But there was a wall, just a few feet over, and if they would have put her behind that wall, we would have probably found bones if they'd ever found her at all. Right.
So the posing of Miss Stephanie, that we've worked cases like that in the past, and that is a sign of humiliation. They try to either because they're angry at her, or they're angry at a family member, and they know it'll hurt the family members. But to hear that about their loved ones, right? So it's that's interesting to know, and certainly that's going to play into how we look at it, right, Joe?
No, it definitely is.
So,
yes. Well, one good thing is that building had been sitting empty for 15 years, and we got a priest to go with us, and they showed me where Courtney's body. I didn't walk into the building because I just couldn't. I stayed kind of on the outside of the door, but he blessed everything with holy water. And right after, I'd say a few months later, someone bought that property and turned that building into a home. And I went over there one day. There was a lady that was outside, and I was over there. I had put Courtney's cross, and it was kind of like in the front of the building, and they had moved it over some. And I just let her know that if you ever see me over here or whatever, this is my daughter's cross, and I just come and put flowers or pull weeds or whatever. And out of her house came this little pink poodle. And I just thought that was pretty cool because it was like Courtney's favorite color was pink.
Oh.
And, yeah, she had a little white poodle that was dyed pink. And I told her, I said, I don't know if you know it. I said, but my daughter's body was found right here. I said, that's why we have this cross. And she said she had heard something about, you know, a death there, but she didn't know any of the specifics. And I didn't really go into it. I just told her that sometimes she would see me there on the side of the road, not to think anything of it, you know. And she said, no problem. But they did move Courtney's cross over a little bit. I guess they just didn't want a cross in their front yard. You know?
Right. Hey,
which is understandable.
Is the cross still there today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, we're going to be
I
going.
was there.
I'm definitely going to be going over there. After I come to Alexandria and and get with y'all and everything. But so definitely going over there, and we wouldn't be doing our job as investigators if we didn't visit the scenes and everything. Even though it's 15 years later. In the house that she went missing from, I know you said, you and I talked before, and you said it's occupied now. But I still we're going to go by there, and we have so much to do. But
and I did tell you about the house that she was living in. The reason I think Courtney was killed at her house is because her comforter on her bed was never found. We couldn't get into her house for 18 days after she was murdered because the police had it taped off and everything. But when we finally did get in there, now I couldn't go into her bedroom. I was just really, I stayed into the kitchen and I just packed stuff from the kitchen and the living room area. But my sisters and them did her bedroom and packed up her stuff. But her jeans that she had on that night, because Courtney slept in a T-shirt all the time, or her robe. And her robe was never found. There was some pants on the side of the bed. Now,
let me interrupt you. How do you know it wasn't found, or that the police didn't take it in for evidence for testing? And do you know if there was any signs of blood or struggle or anything inside the residence, or any DNA collected?
No, her house was in pristine shape. She kept such a clean little house, and it was just like only thing was on her end table. My sister said that she had a little Bible by the side of her end table, and it was kind of knocked over. And she had her pillows were still on the bed, but the comforter was gone, and the sheet on one of the sides of the mattress looked like the mattress was kind of pulled a little, like moved over a little bit, like.
And I'm going to interrupt you again, and it's how it's going to be. And Jim's going to interrupt you some too, and it's because if we don't ask a question, we're thinking about it, we'll forget. How do you know if y'all got in 18 days later? How do you know that the cops didn't take the comforter, and that, or you see what I'm saying? Did you ever ask them that? Yes, I did. Yes, okay. We did, and the cops did not take her comforter.
I think I have a list of everything that the cops took from her house.
Cool. Good. That's great.
And yeah, I do. And I've got a list of all the phone records.
Good.
I have all that. I've got so much stuff here.
We'll get. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Stephanie, just
Okay,
a question for you, or I actually have a couple of them, but one of them, do you happen to know when the police first went into her residence? Do you know if they happened to have videotaped that?
I don't know, but I tell you, the guy, I can't think of his last name. Neil Bates was the crime scene investigator at the time. He was the one that, and they said he's a straight up, like he's a really, really good crime scene investigator. Well, there was supposedly a domino game at Courtney's house that night, and there was some friends over. Now, the police have the scorecards from the game that night. They have 5 this is my list, and I made the Alexander police detectives give me this list. I'm just going to go. It's 16 items on the list. Y'all want me to read them?
Sure. Yes, please.
Okay. 1 blue dress, 1 gray dress, 1 pair of blue jeans with blue and white cloth belt, 1 pair of blue jeans with red belt, 1 bed sheet, 1 security box, 1 knife, 1 cell phone, but it wasn't Courtney's cell phone, 1 black wallet, 1 set of dominoes, 3 beer cans, 2 paper bags, 1 cup, 1 cigarette box, 5 Dr. Pepper cans, and 18 cigarette butts.
All right. Now, I know I have a bunch of questions, and I know Jim does also. You go first, Jim.
So we don't know if they videotaped or anything, but did they send any of that stuff off for any type of DNA testing or anything at that time that you're aware of?
I don't know.
See, that's going to be.
I pray to God they did, but I don't know.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay as long as they still have the evidence. Those cigarette butts and the Dr. Pepper cans and the beer cans, they have DNA all over them. Now,
and they also have the list of names on the score sheets of people that were there.
That's right. There's
like 5 people there.
So, when you and I talked the other day, and I was asking you about getting the case files or attempting to through public information, et cetera, that's why it'd be so huge to get a hold of this information to help us. Now, if we don't get it, we're still going to work it, and it's just going to take us longer, and it's going to be more challenging. But I want to know who they interviewed. I want to know what those people said. I want to go back and Jim and I want to go back and re-interview those people. But more interesting to me is the DNA profiles off all those items, and have they ever even attempted to match it to the DNA that you, and Jim doesn't know about this, that the DNA that you said they found, what was in the trunk or the car?
Yes, on the latch of the trunk. Mm-hmm. This is what the detective told me, and I think it was the one in Texas. He was the one that was more fired up about her case than anything, and he did like you. He put a picture of her in his office, but then he started having some health problems over the years, and he finally had to give it up. But he told me he would never forget. But he told me that the DNA that they found on the latch was mixed with Courtney's DNA. Either they cut their hand or arm or something, putting her in or out of the trunk. And he told me something else that really just blew my mind. Courtney weighed about 110 pounds soaking wet. And when they found her, she was like 160 pounds. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, but that's because of fluid in the body and the decomposition. But you don't.
And I never saw her because at the funeral home, the guy that was the funeral director was Courtney's softball coach. And he told me, he said, I cannot stop you from seeing your daughter. But he said, I'm just going to suggest that you don't. And so I took his word, and we had a close casket, and I just never saw her. I never touched her. I really wish I would have got them to cut some of her hair, but I really didn't think about it till after it was too late.
You know, Miss Stephanie, I've worked cases before where you know, a situation arises like that where, you know, the vision that you have of your daughter is what you remember of seeing her last, beautiful, 19-year-old, 110 pounds, etc. You know, active in the community, and you know, just a good girl. You don't want that last vision to be what had happened. So I don't disagree with what the funeral director had recommended, because even I have recommended that at times before.
And I'm gonna recommend it right now. Okay, I don't want you to ever think about how much they told you she weighed, or decomposition, really, or whatever. Because you know what, Courtney doesn't want you thinking about that. All right,
no,
we'll think about that. That's what we do. Okay, you remember how beautiful she was, and full of life and all that. You remember the good things, and the demons that want to, after 15 years, they want to pop those bad images in your head. Put them out. They don't have any place there. Okay.
All right. Let me tell y'all, on October the 2nd, which was the night of the domino game. It was a Saturday night, and her best friend Jackie was there, and she told the police. She told the police that she was the last one to see Courtney that night before she left. Supposedly she was there, and her 2 little children were there also, is from what I understand. They were small children. But Jitty was Jackie's brother. That's his nickname. His real name is Floyd Lee Williams, Jr. But he was a known rat for the Alexander Police Department, because when they picked him up to bring him in for questioning, now this came straight from Cedric Green's mouth. He told us that this himself. He said, when I picked him up for questioning, he had dope in his pocket. And he told him, he said, man, I'm dirty. I got something in my pocket. He said, it don't matter. Get in. We got to bring you down to the station and question you. So they brought him to the station knowing he had drugs in his pocket. He was a known rat. He's been busted numerous times. I even went to one of his court hearings, and they waited and waited and waited, and they made him last. And this one man even come up to me like, who are you waiting for? And I said, Floyd Lee Williams, Jr. And he said, why? I said, because I want to see what kind of time he gets, because he had been busted so many times. He got 3 7-year sentences, with all of them suspended except for one, and he was walking the streets again like in 4 months, selling drugs again. Mm-hmm. So he is a known rat for the Alexander Police Department. That's why we've always said that they were covering for him. And plus, we have a lot of dirty cops in this town that fooled with young girls, that messed around with people that they had in the jail, that would illegally pull women over and rape them and stuff. You know, just horrible, bad things, bad cops around here. And it was just like a lot of cops were like bad at that time. But Jackie, which claimed to be the last one to see Courtney alive that night, because Courtney's cell phone, if you look at the records, it's like everything kind of ends. Like Courtney was constantly like checking her phone or calling. It was no text messages. It was just like it just shows incoming call or outgoing call.
Right.
On October the 2nd, everything stopped on Courtney's phone at 2:33 in the morning. And then it resumed again at 4:06, 4:15, 4:19, and 4:30 a.m. All 4 of those numbers were to different numbers. And Jackie said that she was using Courtney's phone at that time. And she said she was dialed. They asked her about the phone calls. Who are you calling? And we have the names and we have the phone numbers. She said that she was trying to call someone, but she was dialing a wrong number. But like I told you, Mr. Woody, all the numbers are different. Like if you're dialing a wrong number, usually you miss it by one number or two numbers, not all the numbers differently. So that showed that she was lying right there. Then she had told the police that the day before that her and Courtney rode around all day smoking pot when Courtney had 0 marijuana in her system on her toxicology report. So she lied to the police on that.
Hey, do you know, you said you have those numbers and the names. Do you know if they interviewed those people and what they said that, what was her name?
Do not.
The friend's name?
Jackie
called.
Hampton.
If you call me at 4:00 and you're calling, okay, first of all, I want to know what cell tower that those calls were pinging off of, because they could have been in Winnie, Texas. You see what I'm saying? Or it could be in Alexandria. Or that would be something we need to find out.
Well, their local numbers that was being called.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that she's not out of town or headed south,
headed off on a trail,
headed to Texas.
Right.
You know, with her in the car, right? Or it could have been local.
But what's really? I'm sorry.
Whoever she called, they could be huge potential witnesses because if she's calling to ask for help because she's in a panic,
I'm thinking she's calling to ask for help to remove the body.
Those people, somebody's going to talk, and they need to be sweated hard.
The thing is too is back at that time, people wouldn't have known about the towers if you're making a call, so it's very likely that they could have been in another state, you know, across that line, making those calls, trying to make it look like they were staying local, making local calls.
Was her phone ever found?
Her phone was found in Houston, Texas, and a little 15-year-old guy had the phone.
Right.
He said he bought it for $10 or something or another. Detective Rabelais in Texas pinged the phone and pinged it straight to his pocket. He pulled up, he got out of his police car, and he went straight to the little guy and got it out of his pocket. Right. And about 20 minutes later, or not long after, the phone went dead. So, I mean, he barely got it. But what's interesting is, you know how, like, if you put, like, I have your name in my phone, Woody Overton.
Right.
So if you call me, there's Woody Overton called. You know, Courtney had some people keyed into her phone. And what's really interesting is on October the 7th, whoever was using her phone called some of the people, Little K, for instance, from the Houston area.
What?
Yes, and they called numbers that's on Courtney's phone. And it come up as Little K.
Okay, real quick.
Little K or Little Kate? What do you?
Little K.
Little K.
Do we, first of all, let me back up to the 4 phone calls she made at 4 in the morning. Do we know if those calls connected through? Do we have the phone bill to say the calls? Do they lasted? How many minutes the calls lasted, etc.?
Let's see.
Did she spend a couple minutes on one and then immediately hang up and call the next?
Yes, like one of them was 1 minute. The first one at 4:06 was 1 minute. The second one at 4:15 was for 3 minutes.
The 1 minute could be getting a voicemail, and if it picks up, they're going to charge it at least a minute. The 3 minute one means they talked. Yeah.
Yeah, they talked, and then the other 2 are for 1 minute.
Okay.
But the second call was for 3 minutes.
Okay. And we know who that is.
And that guy's name, and that guy, it was a guy named Jake.
Hey, you know what? Let's don't say, because I'm recording this, let's don't say the specific names right yet.
Okay.
When we're in person and I have the information, and then we can do it because I don't want somebody to get spooked.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay.
we know that the second phone call went through and it lasted for a couple minutes. Now, fast forward when after she's deceased, in the phones in Houston, that when they called little K, did that call go through? How long?
One of them was for 2 minutes, and one of them was for 1 minute. There's two of them on October the 7th during the afternoon.
Okay.
And then again, on October the 3rd, it says aerial communications out of Houston. But at 10:44 p.m., which was Sunday night, which is when they determined that Courtney's body must have been dumped out because she was found first thing Monday morning. Mm-hmm. First thing in the morning, they saw her body laying there, a man that was in a field laying down pipes. But somebody, Sunday night, we have a little note here again with the little K. And it's a Houston number. And that was for 1 minute. So, I mean, I do have the phone records, and I got these straight from,
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's good.
Yes.
Certainly.
This was our detective work that we did. The police didn't do this for us. This is our work.
Right.
But I've got all that for you if you ever need this.
Oh, we're gonna get it all. But go ahead, Jim.
Miss Stephanie, just a few more questions. I know you had mentioned the detective from Alexandria that was working it. You had said earlier that he was the lead investigator, and then I'm assuming at some point he was no longer the lead investigator?
Sheriff's office.
Well, he was with the Alexandria Police Department, but I just never... This man acted like he just did not like me or my family. He just treated us so terrible. Hey. And I went to the police chief and I said, please give me another detective that I can work with.
Did the sheriff's office ever take the case over?
Finally, after the Alexander police exalted all their leads, that's what they said, and the sheriff's office had a brand new cold case unit squad. They had certain detectives that were working on it, and they took it over at that time. But the deal is they were a cold case unit, but I never heard from any of them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you can be working a case and never even talk to the family or anything.
You know how? You can't. And you can't.
You don't.
That's exactly right.
Miss Stephanie, can you just kind of walk me through some of your daughter's friends that you remember and her activities shortly before this happened? Just kind of what she did on a regular basis.
Like, did she go to work or did they go out party? I mean, when I was 19, I went out every chance I could, right?
She starting in about 10th, well, she was a little cheerleader at Alexander Senior High School. And she played softball, not with school, but with Sinlaw Civitan, and she was an awesome little ball player. She did gymnastics. She was taught gymnastics by a bronze medalist, Mr. Caroli. She was very, very limber, and she was in such great shape. I mean, she was solid as a little rock. And she was friendly, and she loved people, and she did not judge people. She had friends of all different colors, black, white. She tended to, when she got in about the 10th grade, she started dating this black guy. And I about had a fit because I'm not a prejudiced person by no means, but we were just always raised, you stick with your own color. And, me and her kind of butted heads about that. And I told her, I said, Courtney, it's not about the color of people. It's about the type of people. I said, and you're around people that are using you. Because Courtney had her own house. She had her, she was renting a house. She had her own car. She had her own job. She worked at Dr. Morrow's office. Her sister, my oldest daughter, which is 7 years older than Courtney, worked there with her. But Lace worked back in the back with the doctor. Courtney worked up in the front with, as a little receptionist. But what's interesting is the day before that Friday when I saw her, she came to my house and told me, well, it was on a Wednesday. She told me she got over here. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning. She drove up. She said she had just quit her job. And I said, what? And she was still in her little scrubs. And she said that she had wrote the doctor and his wife worked there also, both letters, put it both on their desk, and told them that she was going to report them for illegal stuff that she had saw done at the doctor's office. She said she was going to report them to the insurance company, to Medicare, and to the Better Business Bureau. And I don't know what.
How long was this before?
This was on September the 29th.
Just a couple days.
Wednesday. Yeah, just a couple of days before.
Wow.
And,
well, you remember I told you that everybody is a suspect except for me, you, and Jim Rathman. So, but that okay. So she quit the job just a couple days before the domino game, before the night she went missing, and she left a letter stating that she was going to report them to the authorities?
One to his wife and one to the doctor, actual Dr. John Morrow.
Wow.
And one to his wife, Kay Morrow. Lace was still working there at the time when Courtney quit.
Oh, that's like the other daughter was. Okay, all right.
Yes. And so I don't know. I believe she showed me the letter, but I just thought she was like mad and just like somebody had pissed her off, and she was like just venting, and
well, your daughter ought to be able to, when I interview her, she ought to be able to clarify that, right?
She could probably tell you exactly, probably almost to the word, what the letter said, because I think she read it also. But I don't know if Courtney, she had her rough draft, and that's the one she showed me, but she gave them each a letter. Now, I told the police all this. Supposedly, the police went and interviewed the doctor and his wife. They were both at Courtney's funeral, and their two daughters, which Courtney loved, the two little girls. But they were all at Courtney's funeral, and I just thought that was just really, really odd. And I'll tell you something else that the police failed to do. The people that were here, the friend of ours that was here the day that we were packing the truck the last time we saw Courtney, they never interviewed, they never asked him any questions. The people that we were at the camp with, it was like a couple of my girlfriends and this guy that I'm talking about was here with us. They never asked anybody if we were even at the camp. They never even... Only thing Detective Green asked my mother is, how long does it take to get from here to your camp? And he asked me what the address was on the camp, and I said, I don't know the address. I just know where it is. We never send mail there or anything,
Right.
And
so Cedric, Cedric Green is Alexander PD asked you about your camp?
Yes, how long it took to get to the camp, and we told him about 30 minutes from here. I mean, I just thought that was a weird question.
That makes me think that he has some kind of timeline thing, or naturally he's going to want to know, exclude family members first, but that's, you got witnesses that you were at the camp.
So why not ask the witnesses? Yeah. And they never did. Not one of the people that was with us ever was called and asked anything by the police.
Wow.
No, none of them.
You said earlier they did do a toxicology screen on Courtney,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And was it
Was
just a urine test, or
No,
was
no,
it
no,
a
no. It
blood
was
test?
full-blown blood at the
Full-blown
autopsy.
toxicology.
Nothing came back from that? Everything was clean?
No, everything is clean, and they said that she had no drugs in her system. They said there was a little bit of alcohol present, and they said that could have been from her body.
Decomposing.
I guess your body makes its own alcohol,
That's right.
but it was like not a very large amount. Now, this is what I told Mr. Woody about a year and a half ago. The detective that is on her case now, Randall Alls is his name. He called us in, and he wanted to have like a powwow, a family powwow.
Let me interrupt you. He's with sheriff's office.
He's with the sheriff's office, and he's a detective.
This would have been after, and you had contacted me approximately a year and a half or 2 years ago about working Courtney's case. So he calls you in after that and tells you this, right?
Yes,
All right.
and I told him about you.
Go ahead.
At that time, at that meeting, I told him about you. And he shot that down. Like, you don't know nothing about this man. Got to be careful what you tell people. There's people that blah, 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 get involved, and you don't need to be letting out information. And he shot it down. Mm-hmm. And that's why, if you noticed, I kind of just let it go. He told me we've got new stuff. We're re-interviewing people. That's when he come up with this new toxicology report.
That's what I was getting at. It was after you told him about me that he comes up with a new toxicology report. And tell Jim what it said.
Okay.
This is 13 years or 12 years after.
Later. Yes. He said the Texas Crime Lab still had 2 vials of Courtney's blood. He even told me the colors of the top of the vials. One was lavender, and they retested Courtney's blood.
It's too much information. He's full of shit.
There's no way.
He's full of shit.
Full of it.
I'm telling you.
First of all, he's not going to know if the Texas State Police Crime Lab, whatever crime lab does it. He's not going to have any knowledge of what fucking color. Pardon my French. The color of the vials are. So, but go ahead.
Exactly. So anyway, and he gave me this report. Now I have to dig for it, but I've got it somewhere.
I'll get it next week when I'm there. But go ahead and tell him.
Okay. I'm going to have all that ready for you when you come next week. But he told me that Courtney's blood level had 9 times the legal limit of alcohol. Courtney didn't drink. She drank maybe a wine cooler. She was not a drinker. I can vouch for that. She got sick one time on drinking, and that fixed her. Then he told me that she had, it was either tramadol or toradol or something like that. Which is a mild
it's
pain
a non-narcotic. It's non-scheduled narcotic pain reliever. Yeah.
There was like 1,800 milligrams in her blood.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. Because they told it took me about a week to get my head together. And I called him back and I said, you know what? I'm not buying it. I said, y'all are trying to shove this under the rug. Y'all are trying, he said, because if I had to give Courtney's cause of death right now, it would be an accidental overdose.
And that's some shit. The accidental overdose with her legs, nude from the waist down, with her legs spread and posed. Yeah, that's an accidental overdose, you asshole.
This is something that really got me. I said, well, then if it was an accidental overdose, then why didn't someone just leave her laying in her bed, go out the door, and lock the door behind them?
Yeah.
You didn't even have to move her
accidental
body.
Overdose. Wait. Accidental overdose that you're going to take her body across state lines. And we're talking 4 or 5 hours or 4 hours to Winnie, Texas, right? So this is, man, you have to keep in mind, this is after you tell him that you're going to have me work the case, and he can say whatever he wants to. He damn well knows who I am, and he didn't want me getting involved. But guess
I
what?
haven't even told him about you this time.
Don't tell him. Don't.
So
I have not.
There's two completely different toxicology reports.
Toxicology reports. Yes,
We
sir.
don't know. You saw this allegedly new toxicology report?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do you have a copy of it?
I do have a copy of it. He
Perfect.
gave it to me.
Perfect.
He
We'll
had a copy.
verify.
Good. That's right. We will verify it.
Yes.
We'll look into that versus the first one, because it is outrageous.
I'll
Well,
tell
this
you right
is-
now,
this is-
I would go with the first one because the first one was done up from the scene itself,
Yes,
whereas this other one's been sitting
exactly.
for 15 years and you never know if somebody tampered with it.
or
It's
swap.
not to
with it.
say that that's what happened, but to get a completely different toxicology report that's been sitting in a file, I just don't buy that. And
But what's the purpose to go back and test it?
That's
Test
what I
it
was
again.
going to say. Well, let me just tell you this. If she would have had that many drugs and alcohol in her system, she would have thrown up. If she would have thrown up, then she had French fries in her stomach.
She would have died from
So
alcohol poisoning.
She ate within 2 hours of being killed, because in her death report, the death certificate, the report they give you, where it tells you all about, it's all kind of these legal terms.
Right.
But she had, and I have a copy of that too, she had French fries and bubble gum in her stomach.
Right. And do you know what? That's another good thing.
She would have thrown up. There would
Sure
have
she
been
would have.
nothing
Sure
in her
she would have.
stomach.
Yeah, look, you can't have 9 times the legal limit will kill you at alcohol. And
But my child didn't drink.
I know. No, nobody.
Yeah.
You can't drink that much, is what I'm telling you, right? That's 9 times. That would be back then. It was still 0.10. You die at like 4 point. A big guy like me would die at 0.40. So no fucking way.
what was the level of tramadol they said?
1,800 milligrams.
Because I bet you that wasn't metabolized.
I did the math, and I just broke it down into like pills. I told him, I said she would have had to take 20-something pills. I said, so why wasn't any of those pills found in her stomach?
Right.
There was French fries in there.
It-
There was bubble gum in there. You didn't find any pills in there.
Right.
It's almost like you take some, I don't know. I'm just going to go out on a limb here, and I'm not saying this is what had happened, but if you were to take some blood, let's just say you just get a vial of blood somewhere, it could be their own blood, right? And you go ahead and you sprinkle some tramadol into that blood, right? The level in toxicity with that, it has not metabolized, which is going to show at a extremely high concentration level.
Same thing with alcohol.
Same with
I
alcohol.
see.
So
I see.
when you take medication, it has to do what's called the first pass of the liver, which your body's going to actually break it down. So if you take 100 milligram, by the time your body breaks it down, you might get 20, 25 milligrams of that. To have a level of that amount of tramadol tells me that is not metabolized tramadol. That may be a sprinkled in version of tramadol.
And alcohol too. There's no way.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
We're going to get all that
We'll
from
get to
you
the
next
bottom of it.
week, and we're going to look at it, and we'll have experts look at it. But I'm going to tell you something, Stephanie. I have goosebumps just from what we talked about today. Now, but this you have to realize we're just scratching the surface. We're going to do this again, because you're going to remember more things as we do it. When you and I are face to face, we're going to be doing this for like 8 hours at a time. Okay, so the questions will be a lot more involved. But just what you told me today, I mean, the one thing you never know is where a homicide investigation is going to lead. We don't want to get tunnel vision. Certainly, the most likely suspects are the people at the party. But hell, you told us about a dentist today that she had threatened to do, etc. For. We even know about a little K now. We know about the second toxicology report that comes out after the sheriff's office finds out that you're going to hire me to work the case. I mean, that's the quickest way, right? To be able to say, oh, well, you know what? Let's dump a little bit. I'm not saying that they did, but
but definitely not. It's a theory.
The possibilities are endless, and we have to work them all, and that's how we're going to solve this case.
I've got one other thing to tell y'all. I was working at Best Western at the time. I was a front desk guest representative, and I got a call from Regions Bank. That's where Courtney had her checking account. And being I was not on her checking account, we froze her account. I had to get the lawyer that did my secession to freeze her account because we didn't know where her checkbook was. We didn't know where her purse was. She didn't have but I think $13 in her account at the time. And I mean, it wasn't much. Well, a year almost to the day, there was 2 utility bills paid in Houston, Texas with Courtney's checkbook.
Really?
And they signed her name, Courtney Coco, to the check and paid 2 utility bills in Houston, Texas at an apartment complex. Well, at the time, David Rabelais, the detective in Texas, was still on Courtney's case. And he went knocking on doors to find out who lived there. And he talked to some people. He got the information. That should be all in the Texas file. And but he said that did not prove that whoever wrote those checks was Courtney's killers because they could have threw her checkbook out. Someone got the checkbook and used it.
Yeah, but it certainly doesn't exclude them from being the killer either. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And
so the bank has their own detectives, but the bank did not follow. They just wrote it off. It was like over $600 worth of utility bills. They wrote it off because it was cheaper for them to write it off than to get a detective.
Sure it is.
Yes. Yes.
See, there's going to be so much information like that you're going to remember because you're right. Earlier you said it's like ripping off the scab of an old wound, but that's okay. Yes. Sometimes the scab has to come off and get the stuff out so we can heal it. Right.
Amen.
But we're going to stop for today. I just wanted really to get Jim emotionally involved. I want him. I know he already was emotionally involved, but I want his heart. I wanted him to hear your voice.
Yes.
I wanted him to hear your pain.
Yes.
And I know Jim Raffman, and he knows me, and then we're fired up. Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't want that's not. I don't want. That kind of sounds bad, right? That you get fired up about a death, but
I need somebody to be fired up.
Right.
We're fired up to get answers, and we're fired up to get closure for you and to figure this out. You waited 15 long, painful years.
And I can promise you, I can't promise you, I just can't, and I mean, we'd be lying if we said that we were 100% sure that we can solve it, but I can promise you, if we can't do it, nobody can do it. Okay. And we're not getting off of it. I don't care how long it takes. It's just we'll have to die to get off of it, or we're going to solve it. Okay.
I want to read y'all something, and I don't know if you want to record this or not, but this is something that Courtney had done as a school project. Back in 2000, she was in, I guess, a freshman in high school. But it's just a little 2 or 3 paragraphs. And if y'all don't mind, I want to read it to y'all. She talks about, she says, my biggest influence is my mom. She has had a wonderful life so far. She started off very young and rough, but managed to make through all the hard stuff. She is pretty, young, and happy. She had 3 children, and she is a wonderful mother. Everyone has always been put before her. Her kids, grandson, and husband are her main priority. She'll try and try until we are happy. She has always been able to support us and help us with no questions asked. Now she is married with a man of her dreams. We were all so happy when they got married because that is when she got someone to depend on all her life. I would love to be just like my mom.
Oh my God. That's all.
And I just,
You know what,
Puts
sweetie?
tears in my eyes.
That's what it chokes me up too. And then we just.
and that's her own writing
That's
and
her-
her own words. And I just,
She loves you,
treasure that.
and that's, you should treasure that. That's one of the most beautiful things that I've ever heard. Afterwards, right? I mean, it's almost like God let her write it for you to have comfort all these years.
Stephanie, she wrote all that. Obviously, she loves you and you've done everything for her.
Yes,
And,
sir.
you look at what she wrote and you look at what you're doing. Here it is 15 years later, and you're still willing to
Trying
do
and trying
everything
and trying.
and anything it takes to get answers, to find out what happened to your beautiful daughter. And I can tell you, I know I can speak for Woody on this too, but we thank you so much for sharing this. As hard and as difficult as it is, you're doing an outstanding job, and you're working so hard for your daughter. I'm appreciative of mothers like you, and I have an awful lot of respect
Mad
for
respect.
what you do and what you continue to do in the fight for justice for your daughter. And thank you for allowing us to be a part of this and to help you find what is going on, to bring you closure. Much like Woody, I will give it everything that I have to do the best that I possibly can for you and your family.
And
I just know y'all will.
we are going with God's grace in Him putting us together.
Yes, sir.
If it's His will, we are going to find out who murdered Courtney. Okay, that's what we're going to do, and then so you can have some closure. Okay, that's what's so important, and that's it. I mean, I know we're put together for a reason, and we're going to do this. And it's not going to be quick, and it's not going to be easy. But we're going to do it, okay?
But it's going to be done right.
It's going to be done. If
it should have been done in the beginning.
If we can't solve it, nobody can solve it, okay?
I believe that.
We'll leave no leaf unturned.
That's right. And just continue to work on those case files for me, sweetie, and the public information requests and all that, because it's going to be huge.
Matter of fact, I've already requested it from Texas, and this morning I was going to go down to the courthouse and ask for it there and the Alexander Police Department.
Okay. Hey, Stephanie, naming it, what do you think? I mean, who murdered Courtney? I mean, I don't. What do you think? I mean, we need to put the name
I've
to
been
this.
thinking of that, and I don't. I can't come together on anything because there's just. But that sounds good.
I mean, that's what we're doing. I mean, we need to know who murdered
justice.
Who murdered Courtney and justice for Courtney.
I mean, justice for Courtney, and and when we do our victims' rights walk and everything, all of our shirts say "Justice for Courtney," and on the back it says "You never walk alone," because I help many other families that are affected by murder now.
But and the sad part of this is not sad, but we're going to have to use the public. And we need to grab the public's attention, and I mean that's the title's going to have to say that, and So I mean, but
that way they know it kind of says what it's about.
Right. That's right.
In the title.
Right. And it'll grab their attention, et cetera. And
Yes.
Jim and I are going to be working on some things, and we'll talk about it next week. Work on getting a reward thing set up and stuff like that, and a hotline and all that. We have a whole lot of pre-work to do. But we're going to do it, sweetie. I promise. All right.
I know y'all are, and there's just so much other stuff and as I'm looking through my little file, but I just want to tell y'all this. This girl contacted us by way of Facebook. Oh God, let me see if I can find a date. It's 2010, and I have 13 pages of text messages between her and my other daughter, Heather, which she went to school with my two daughters, Heather and Lace. She tells us that she knows all about the murder, that Courtney was injected with a shot. She goes into details, names, places, that Courtney was being rented out for sex, and that they were bringing her to Texas to rent her to somebody for sex, and all this stuff that I told the police about, and the police supposedly questioned her. She kind of played cat and mouse with the police. Right. But their explanation to me was, this girl is crazy. She's running her mouth. I said, well, this is a murder investigation we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. And she's claiming to know all this information. I mean, I think y'all should take it a little more seriously. They really did not even take what she said seriously. Yeah. They said she was a little crazy. And you did tell me, Mr. Woody, there would be people that run their mouths and give all this information when they absolutely know not what they're talking about.
Right, sure. There's a certain percentage of the population that will try to inject themselves into investigations for different reasons, whether it's crazy or financial or whatever. But attention. That's right. We'll weed those out, and we'll leave, as Jim said, we'll leave no stone unturned. And you just take it easy the rest of
those 13 pages that y'all could read.
You take it easy the rest of the day. Try to work on those case files. The more information we have, the better off we are. Okay.
I will. And tomorrow's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Courtney. Oh my God, it just kills me because she loved to give people gifts. She was like a little, not a shopaholic, but she loved to give. She was a giver, not a receiver. Right. And she loved to give gifts. It just made her overjoyed. And I still have the last thing that she gave me. It was a little pair of sandals, and I just don't wear them because I don't want them to wear out.
Right.
But I still have that little pair of sandals, and every time it's my birthday, I wear those sandals on my birthday only.
Wow.
So I'll be wearing them tomorrow.
You wear them tomorrow, sweetie, and you have a good birthday, and we're going to be working on it, and just take care, okay? Thanks for sharing with us today, all right?
I will, Mr. Woody, and it was so nice to meet you, sir.
It was very nice to meet you, and I look forward to talking with you many more times, and we'll be able to meet face-to-face soon enough. I'm going to have Woody give you my number offline here, and then we'll be able to talk some more, okay? But thank you so much for being so strong today and walking us through this. You're a tremendous mother. Please don't ever forget that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, we love you, sweetie, and you be good, all right?
We love you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you again.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, y'all, that's going to conclude this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Me and my co-host, Jim Raffman. You heard it from Miss Stephanie, Courtney Coco's mom, and we'll be getting back with you real soon. Peace.
Hello everyone, this is Tyler here at Formidable, a true crime podcast. I want to invite you to come join me as I drop multiple episodes weekly to give you your true crime fix. Now I am personally a huge fan of true crime, and this is what has pushed me to do this. All of my stories are well researched, but I do keep them shorter than your average true crime podcast to fit into your daily commute, so you don't have to pick back up later. I encourage you to check it out anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Just search Formidable, a true crime podcast, and while you're there, be sure to subscribe, follow, and leave a review if you enjoy. You can also find me on Twitter at FormidableTC and on Instagram at Formidable.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during questioning. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. You understand your rights?